Hey guys, welcome to the May 2023 demo of SystemHUB, and more talking around the do's and the don'ts and the why do we capture systems in the first place. So what we have, let me just change the layout just so I can get everyone on. There we go. Okay, so if you guys can see me all right, thumbs up. If you can hear me okay, thumbs up. That's all good. Beautiful. Okay, so what I might do, I'll screen share this. And I'll just show you. Let me just do a slideshow there. Okay, can you see that okay? Now? Cool. Okay, so my name is Rob Morgan. I'm the director of CloudKonnect and also a certified systemologist. So I work very closely with the company SYSTEMology. And if you haven't read the book already by David Jenyns, highly recommend that you read the book. If you haven't read the book and you haven't got the book, let me know. I will post the book to you. Those are for you who are here today. We'll get the book if you don't have it, but those of you watching the recordings, just let me know in the chat inside of LinkedIn as well, then we can organize to get a book to you as well, because it's really important to understand and understand the concepts around why systemology is what it is. It's not just getting systems and putting them into a platform and making them work, because you may as well have Dropbox or Google Drive or SharePoint to have your data sitting there. The whole point of having a systems platform is that you know where to go to for which service or product, you know which to go to for which department you're looking at, things like that. So we want to make it as easy as possible for you to be able to find the processes that you've recorded, but also get the team involved, so the team actually gets involved and they know where to go to when they're finding out things, how to find things and how the processes work. So the goal here today is just to give you an overview of what it looks like if you were to capture your systems in a platform like SystemHUB, keeping it super simple. I'm going to stay as high level as I can. I'd love to get questions. I'm just going to actually bring up the chat as my main screen there. I encourage you guys to ask questions, because if you're a business owner and you want to capture your systems and you don't know how to do that yet, jump in and let's make this, because this is a monthly seminar that I'm doing. It's a monthly webinar that we're posting. It's going to be all around the system tools, not just SYSTEMology, not just SystemHUB. It's going to be around every system tool that you're using within your business, and how do we best get use of those tools so that we're saving time, we're saving money, all of those great things that happen when you're running your own business. What tools are the best tools to use? So my job is to understand technically how the tools work, but also understand as a business owner, we've got things that are time poor. We're too busy running around, running in the business, working in the business, and not enough time to spend working on the business. So when new technology comes up, I want to share that with you, because if it's something that's going to be valued to not only my business, but I can share with you, then it's a win-win situation. So what we're going to do, we're going to jump in, and I do this in every webinar. I talk about the 5 business tools, and these are your standard top tools that any business should be using. Of course, they're all cloud-based as well. The idea here is you can travel the world, be anywhere, jump on any device, and have access to these tools. That's the goal there. Why systems and processes are so important? Again, we want to be able to think about it as a business. How do we disappear for a month, 2 months, 3 months, and come back and the business is running better without you? If that's your goal, then how do we get everything out of your head and into some type of systems platform? Okay, so we're going to go through a little bit of detail of how the systemology model works through that critical client flow, and how that critical client flow then goes into the system design sheet to work out which product and service we're talking about, which department would they go into, who knows most about those processes within your business, then how do we capture those and extract and record and document those processes. So we're going to go through that. A couple of months ago, and I went through a critical client flow for his business, and we put it all the way through to the point of that system design sheet. So if you get an opportunity to watch that recording as well, or if you need a copy of that recording, let me know, because this goes into deep details of how we actually capture that critical client flow. So we're going to jump into the first part of this. You'll see is the 5 tools that typical businesses use. I mean, there's more, there's like email campaigns, and there's other things that you might be using within your business, but we want to just talk about the core ones today. So your Office suite, typically you're using either Google Workspace or Office 365. With your finance, you've either got Xero, QuickBooks, or MOIB. Project management, there's ClickUp, Asana, there's Monday, there's plenty that are out there. Pipedrive is the project management tool that we're now using. It's a new add-on within that CRM, which allows you to create and track your projects inside your CRM. Your CRM, which your customer relation management platform, you've got Pipedrive, HubSpot, Salesforce. There's plenty that are out there. It's such a competitive market. But again, if you are using one of these platforms, then you're on the right track. The systems management tool is typically an area that no one really talks about, because they think, well, we have our systems project management tool. That's most of the feedback I get. Okay, so when we look at how are we capturing all the things we're doing in Google, how we're doing in Xero, how we're doing in Asana, how we're doing in Pipedrive, SystemHUB is designed to capture the recordings of the processes you're using for those platforms, so that you say, right, in SystemHUB, you say, here's our accounting department, here's the finance area, here's the bookkeeper's role. So we add a contact in Xero, and you actually record the process from Xero, you talk your way through it, and you put that recording into SystemHUB under the right department, under the right product or service, under that right role. So there's a little bit of confusion sometimes of where does the system management tool step in? And I look at it like a Polaroid picture of your business. You take a picture of everything you're doing and you put it into SystemHUB, so it's easy to manage and easy to find and easy to watch. The goal there is you have all your policies in there as well, and then you turn every one of those systems you've created, which is beautiful processes that you've created, because you can do it once, record it once, and watch it 1,000 times. You can then turn those into learning tracks. So if you're onboarding someone new in your business, you can now say, right, you need to spend your first day going through SystemHUB and the learning tracks to understand how we do things around here. Okay, so that is the goal, is to turn all of those beautiful processes into fantastic learning tracks for your team and onboarding. So I'm just going to click back up here. Okay, so basically what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to escape out of that and I'm going to jump into our SystemHUB. So if everybody can see that, this is our SystemHUB for CloudKonnect, right? Rather than showing just a demo with data that we just made up, this is actually our SystemHUB that we use every day. So the example that I want to use is go through the process where we're actually going through as if you've signed into SystemHUB for the first time, all right? And again, let me know if I'm going too quick. Let me know if you feel like you're drinking water through a fire hose, because I have a tendency of knowing this stuff, but I want to make sure that I'm being very succinct and clear and the right speed to explain how things work. This platform is probably one of the easiest platforms to understand and to use. So it's not overcomplicated. So my goal today is to show you a high-end track of how things work in here without being overly complicated and not speeding through it, so we're trying to get everything done in within 45 minutes, okay? So again, during the process, feel free to ask questions, because if there's something in here that you want to see again, probably someone else in this group wants to see it again too, because if I'm zinging through it and it gets a little, you get a bit lost, let's go through it and let's cover it. Let's cross the T's and dot the I's on this, okay? Because this is the important part of it, is to understand why we have this platform. You know, so any demo can say, click here to do this and click here to do that. Our goal is to say, why do we have this in the first place? What's the point? And if it's easy, then how can we bring that and embed that into our business so it's just as easy for us to do this? Because the hardest part is, how do we capture systems in the first place? Because the comment I get a lot is, we have 1,000 processes, we don't even know where to start, okay? Again, the analogy of that box of puzzle pieces, you just dump the puzzle pieces onto your dining room table, and you start putting each piece together one by one, and eventually you have a picture. As soon as you start seeing that waterfall, you're like, oh my God, this is great. And the puzzle starts getting fun. All right, so the goal here is to start with the basics. Start with the service or product that you do every single day. Capture the side of it that looks, how do people find us and how do we find people? When we meet them, what do we do? When we do the job, how do we do it? When we bill them, how do we get in? How do we get paid for it? Then how do we follow up on that process? There's a critical client flow right there. All we're trying to do is start with the basics, because down the track you can say, well, what if they say no? What if they say yes? What if that happens? What if the parts don't arrive? What if whatever? All right, that's where the complication sets in. And this is where most business owners and systems champions step away from capturing the systems, because it's just all too hard. So we want to keep it simple. So let's say we log into SystemHUB for the first time. You can see up here on the top right, we have the little button, little drop down here. So simply, the first thing you want to do is add your logo. Okay, so you add your logo there, you just upload it right there. You pick a color scheme within your company. It comes in the dark blue. I've changed mine to orange. So it just gives us the company feeling there that it's ours. And then you can sit and go to members, and you can start adding your team members. Now, every time you add a team member, it's going to say, if you want to add someone new, what type of member are they? Reader only, so they can log in, they can view the processes that you've captured. They can't change anything. They can't add anything. The contributor means they can add, but they can't delete. They can't remove anything. They can't change things. They can just add things in. An editor just has the ability to go in and make changes, but they can actually do things that, if you're not sure if this is the right person that you want to change your processes, just be aware that these roles are important. And the admin is you. The admin is the first person that signs in, that's making it, that's designing it, it's creating all of this. Okay, so be aware of the roles that are there and select the right role depending on the person. When we come down more deeper into roles, you can now start creating a role around a specific name and then tick the boxes that have all the right permissions that will allow each person to do certain things. So by default, those top level roles are pretty straightforward. So you would basically say, right, they're either going to be read only, or they're going to contribute, or they're going to be an editor. Okay, that's typically, you know who's jumping in. The most important thing I want to point out here is SystemHUB has the ability to save a process as a URL, as a public website, almost like a landing page. So don't think you've got to invite all of your contractors in and your marketing contractors in. You can simply create a process. This is how we do marketing. And you share that website page, that URL, you make it a public URL, and you share it to your marketing person. Now they can see it, they can read it just like a website, but they can't change it. They don't need to log into your SystemHUB. They don't need to do any of that. Now let's say that person's not working with you anymore, right? You simply click the button that says, right, create a new link, and it breaks the old link. They can't see it anymore. Okay, so again, rule of thumb, be aware of who you're sharing this information with and what it looks like from a systems point of view. So now I'm just on the top left there, you see systems and you see policies and you see training. That's it. Those are the 3 tabs you get, right? So we're not going to jump into 20 different tabs and 20 different things that each one do. We're simply going to start with systems, okay? So inside your systems, you see over here on the left, when you first sign in, can you IP whitelist the links? That's a great question, Steve. I'll find out, but it's typically yes, because you can basically say that's the link that you want to ensure that is safe and it's not going to get any sort of issues. But again, great question. But we'll dig a little bit deeper in there offline as well, Steve. So you can see when you first sign into SystemHUB for the first time, you're going to get your basic departments sitting there. Now, all I've simply done is number them because SystemHUB has an auto formatting rule. So if you put A and then B is going to come under A. You put 1, 2, 3, it's going to follow that order as well. If there's no numbering sequence there, it'll simply just be alphabetical. But I kind of like to see the fact that most businesses fall under the first 4 major departments as marketing. How do we find them? How are they finding us? Sales, okay, we're doing a quote, we're having a chat. We're doing operations, we're doing the job. And in finance, we're sending and invoicing, getting paid. Your 4 core departments in any business. Any standing operating procedure will fall into those first 4. And then you talk about administration. Now you're starting to talk about what's happening internal. What is our admin person doing on a day-to-day basis that we want to capture? Because what if they go on maternity leave? What if they go on holidays for 6 months? What if they want to take time off? What if they are no longer suited with your business and you remove them and you hire someone else? Wouldn't it be great if they could just go through a learning track to learn every single process they do? So by day 2, that person's ready to go because I spent the first day watching the videos, understanding the bullet points, and understanding those processes. So when we get to human resources, again, internal, we're starting to think about what are all our policies that we have that are associated within our business. The technical and web services. I'm going to give you that example right there so you can see it. Now, me coming from 30 years of IT support, this is the easiest department for me where I first started. Because it was like, okay, well, I'm going to start capturing every subscription I have and all the software we use and all the hardware, and I'm going to make a list of everything that we do. It was simple for me. But it's new for anyone else that's not in the tech space. But I wanted to start with something that I knew in the back of my hand because I wanted to start putting data in here, making it fun and making it at least, hey, Pat, who works with me, jump into SystemHUB, and this is how we do all of our subscriptions, right? These are a summary of all the subscriptions we use. Have a read through it and contribute to it. What do you think? So we started with the basics, and then it gets a little bit more complicated as we go through. Now, when we look at each one of these folders, the Start Here button is at the top. This was the policy or really the first process built by Systemology head office to help those using Systemology and SystemHUB where to get started. So there's actually a system for you to create systems. So you're not starting with a complete blank canvas. You're starting with, okay, this is a guideline of how you actually create a system for your own business. So you follow this through, you read through it, you think of a product or a service that you do every single day. It's a yes from everyone. So there's no detours, there's no what ifs. It's just like, we have one service that we're going to talk about. Let's make it the easiest service that we do every single day. We know it back to front. Everyone's going, yes, you're getting paid on time. It's the best job ever. Like, it's perfect. Let's use that as our first case scenario and run through the system to help you build systems. And of course, there's videos embedded. You can see if I press play, that video will play directly inside this SystemHUB screen. It doesn't take you to YouTube. It doesn't disappear. It sits right here. And then you can click and watch each one of these videos. And of course, there has to be one with David Jenyns performing. I think he was doing the TED Talks that day. Okay, so there's all of these examples you can use. Now remember, when you do a video in here, you can do it with your GoPro, you can do it with your iPhone, you can do it with your Android, you can do it through Loom, Zoom, Google Meet, whatever technology works for you. Now Loom is something, if you've never heard of it before, is an add-on that allows you to record what you're doing on the computer. So if you're in front of your computer and you're in, say, let's call it Xero, and you want to record how to do an invoice in Xero, that's one of your processes. You simply go to Loom, you click the button, which is right up here. You can see that little button there. Now it's ready to record anything that I'm doing straight away, just by hitting start record. It goes 3, 2, 1, and now it's recording everything I'm doing on that screen. So now you're saying, hey, it's Rob here. We're just going to show you how to add an invoice in Xero. You click here and you click there. The video's done. It's embedded. You then document that through. Okay, so you basically listen to the video and you create those bullet points to capture the highlighted part of that. And eventually you turn that into a learning track when your new bookkeeper joins your team. All right. So you're not having to stand over their shoulder live and trying to hopefully they remember what you're explaining to them, how to do certain things. They just watch the video over and over again until they get it and they're ready to do that role. So we talk about the marketing, sales, operations, finance. When we come down to this little folder, now I've created a folder that has the 7 steps of systemology. Okay, so once you read the book, you're going to get the language of those 7 steps. You're going to get the language of that critical client flow, which is called the CCF, and that DRTC, the department roles and team charts. You're also then going to have your systems assigned sheet. You're going to start calling that an SAS. Like there's going to be these words that you're going to use that are just going to be like, all right, this is how we do things around here. We've got to capture it first. What's the critical client flow? So I'm just going to answer that question for Navdeep. Yes, it records audio. So you can have a blank screen that just has a play button. So you don't need to be you talking, and if you don't want to be behind the camera, that's okay too. You just get on your dictaphone on your phone, you speak directly into it, you record it, and you put the recording straight in here as an MP3 as opposed to an MP4. So when they're watching it, while watching the bullet points, they're pressing play, they're listening to the whole process through an audio as well. So as a business owner, wouldn't it be great if you're driving to and from work and you're just driving on with your dictaphone, just talking through processes that you know how things are done, and then you're giving that process, that recording, to your systems champion or a systemologist, and they're putting it into SystemHUB in the right department, under the right service, under the right process, and ready to be documented. And they're ready to be used by the rest of your team. So you can see here, the first stage in systemology is define. So we want to define what service or product are we talking about, and what does that flow look like. So to give you an example, we'll jump into the critical client flow. And as you can see here, I'm not clicking away and going into Google Drive or going into OneDrive. I'm just basically going, here's the link to the CCF. And yes, that is sitting in my Google Drive, but I simply just capture the URL of that link inside my Google Drive and link it straight to here. So again, SystemHUB is designed to be a single source of truth. Whether you have everything living in Office and Dropbox and Google Drive, doesn't matter. That's still going to function the same way that you use it every single day. You now have a place where it goes, well, to find this information, click here. To learn more about this process, click here. And even think about it, you can actually link processes to processes inside SystemHUB. So if you say, well, here's the sales manager's role, they report to the operations manager, for example. You have a link to the operations manager straight inside SystemHUB, and it takes them to the link. So you can link within the processes as well. So if you do have 2 or 3 processes that are super important and they really interconnect, have 3 processes, and simply say, here's how we do this, and the next stage, click here, and you click it, it takes you to the next process. Okay, we've done that process here, click here to get to the next one. So you want to tie it all together, but keep it all within the SystemHUB world, okay? So critical client flow, if anyone hasn't ever seen a CCF before, let me know, because if you've all done this before as an exercise, or you've read the book and you've gone, I'm going to do a CCF for my business, then you already know what this looks like. It's very familiar. So we've worked out our target client is small to medium businesses. That's cool. The service we're talking about is a Systemology concierge service. This is a Systemology done-for-you service that we do. And I thought this was something that we'll be doing every day. So I really want to capture the processes of how we, CloudKonnect, do a Systemology service as a Systemology business to the rest of the world. All right? We've gone through the Systemology training. We've read the book. We've listened to the audio. We've gone through all of that. But how do we do this as a business? Right? How do we do this on a day-to-day basis? So we methodically went through, I was actually interviewed, which was a really crazy scenario of me performing a CCF for my own business, right? So I highly recommend if you can get a blank CCF and think about a service and a product, and you get one of your team members to interview you on what your CCF is, that is the best way to start, because it makes you think, how do these things connect? Now, when we're talking our way through it, the process starts to make sense. And then it becomes fun, because you're like, I've never really realized that when we talk about A and B, we realize there's something in between A and B that we do, but we've never identified. Ah, this is good, because you're forcing yourself to go through the process to think about it. So here we are. How do people find us, and how do we find them? Social referrals, joint venture, head office. How did they find us? Okay, email, phone, website, a Zoom call. Okay, so we have a meeting. That's called a coffee call. We dig a bit deeper into the next meeting. It's a deep dive. We then send a quote. It gets approved. Remember, we're talking about everything's a yes here. There's no what if yet. We're just going, this is the perfect job, and we're going to capture this process. Okay, we add the subscription into our billing system. We schedule the 3-month weekly sessions. We complete the 3-month concierge, and we upsell, on go, repeat, whatever those words are for you, for your business, however that looks, okay? Critical client flow done. This typically takes, the first time, an hour or two, all right? You might even have that as part of your Friday debrief or your Monday morning meeting, is to start to work on your CCF, okay? Because once you understand this flow, everything else starts to make sense. Now, coming back into SystemHUB, we've done the define stage to define the service and product, who's the ideal client that we're working with. The next stage is assign. So now we're going to talk about assigning those boxes to the right department. So you collectively talk through, well, is that marketing? Is that sales? Is that operations? Or is that finance? Again, let's just talk about the first 4 departments to keep it simple for the first one, because this movement of getting yourself into the assign stage is going to be the exact robotic phrase and process you can do for every single service and product you're working through. We want to create a system for your system. So let's now click that. We can see here the same link, the DRTC system design sheet for this product or that service is here. I click it. It now takes us to this spreadsheet. Now this spreadsheet and that critical client flow Google Paint or Google Drawing can all be found in the systemology.com/resources. It's all there. You just simply download those templates. If not, reach out to me. I can email them across to you. And that way you've got a blank canvas to work with. Okay, so this is where we've identified already these departments that are already sitting there. We're simply putting in which one of these boxes are going to fall into which one of these departments. So it's a simple copy and paste, all right? There's your marketing, there's our sales, there's our operations, there's our finance. We identify the knowledgeable worker. So who in your company knows most about each one of these areas in each one of these departments? You can see that I'm in there. Clearly, I'm the bottleneck. I've got to get it out of my head and into a system so I don't have to be the guy that knows all about this stuff. We want that to be passed on to someone else. This is called scaling your business, okay? So we've done the DRTC. Now we move it over to what's called the system design sheet. Now you'll see here there's a bit of green and a bit of orange and all of that, because the idea within SystemHUB is to, one, make it fun, but see these dots. If I was to edit that, and you're working through 50 processes at the moment, and you're working your way through one by one, how do you identify where you're at and how you're tracking, right? Because again, we need to take the chaos and make control of it. We need to be the ones that become the systems champion. We need to be super organized in the way we're doing it, but we also need to do things one step at a time, and don't get confused and don't get overwhelmed, because that's where people stop creating processes and recording systems, because it's just all too hard. So we want to keep it simple. So we use colors. We use green, orange, and black. And if it's red, that means it's super important, but we're just going to focus on the 3 primary colors. If I click that, you can see it's changing colors. So when it first starts off, it's gray. It means that we've created a title, but we don't have any content. There's no recordings. We haven't done any bullet points. We've identified it through that CCF. We now have created a title. We have something to work with. We change it to orange. It means work in progress. Again, you can see some of these are still in orange because they're still work in progress. At one point in time, it looked more like that. So we haven't even touched these yet, but with the least we've identified which of the critical client flow names are here, which ones are done, because we marked off as green. And every time we mark something off as green, that's when I'm with all my clients. We just do a digital high five. It's like, yes, right, kicking goals. Right, next, what do we do? Okay, now we're going to talk about this process. We're going to record it. We're going to document it. We're going to review it. Everyone gives it the thumbs up. We mark it off as green, digital high five, move on. Okay, so green is good. So coming back to here, I'm going to just go through the top areas in the systems design sheet. And this is the process you do for every single service and product. Don't jump to conclusions and don't skip around all the time, because the whole idea with this is we want to start working our way through methodically and being super organized to get through it. So the department, we've captured that. We know it's marketing because we got that all from here. That's the CCF name. So this is the name we captured in the box. That's cool. And then we think of a name that's slightly longer that would make sense. If you were onboarding someone, a 15-year-old person that knows nothing about your business, and you're about to train them on a particular role, each title inside SystemHUB, and this is the title that sits here. So if I go into marketing and we look at this one, you can see social media - LinkedIn. It just doesn't say social media or marketing. You're identifying it to a little bit more of a common name, not too long, but enough to make sense of it. Your description. So this is the process of how we use LinkedIn to get more clients. The knowledgeable worker was identified down here because we knew that already. So again, we're just doing a lot of copying and pasting. And I know it sounds robotic and sounds simple, but it's the way that it works, because then it becomes easier and easier the more you do it. We've identified the resources. The resources to say, yes, this is a process, but what resources would, kind of add value? So if I'm just telling you the story of how we use LinkedIn and social media, wouldn't it be great if I actually showed you a video of me going on LinkedIn, showing some of the posts that we have in LinkedIn, showing us the profile, and then if you're onboarding someone new, or if a marketing team is about to do work for you, you're giving them an example. So we're going to say the internet is a resource, or LinkedIn page is a resource. Could be a Word document, an email, it could be a spreadsheet, it could be a drawing, it could be a PDF, it could be a picture. So you think about the resources that are going to back you up and support this process. The capture method: Zoom, Loom, Google Meet, iPhone, GoPro. Just identify, if you're going to be out on site showing someone how to drill a hole in a gate, then you're probably going to say, let's get a GoPro or use our iPhone and record that process. And then we can narrate it later using a microphone and recording it, whatever that looks like. You can have fun with it. I've had clients where we've captured processes in a noisy warehouse. Couldn't hear a word they were saying. They came back, played the video on the computer, used Loom and recorded them speaking through and narrating that video. And then there was the recording of them narrating, as well as the video that was sitting there as well. Technically, there's so much out there these days that there should be no reason why we can't record a process, whether it's in your office or out on site or in a noisy warehouse. Keep it simple. Bring it back in. The date that we do the extraction, the pre-extraction form, is someone who doesn't have time to come in and talk about the system or process or a role that they have. They can simply fill in the pre-extraction form. So they literally are typing in, this is how I do it, this is how my job is, and blah, 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 and they submit it. So we could have a pre-extraction form to help you guideline. Again, these are all resources that are available that you simply just fill in the blanks. And this, like, okay, well, that person didn't have time to come in and do a video or an extraction or a voicemail or recording, but they have done a pre-extraction form. Cool, we can keep on going and kick in those goals. The SystemHUB URL, this is a direct link back to your SystemHUB. So this is designed to become the legend. When you look at a map of the world, in the bottom right-hand corner, there's a legend of everything that you're looking at, color-coded and measurements. This is the go-to. This is the Bible you go to. So whenever I have a meeting with a client talking about the systems, we come here first. What do we have to work on? What have we done that we can go through and review and turn green? And what are the next processes that we want to capture? So we start here, and then we go to SystemHUB based on the links that are here. Because if you start going into here and going, oh, now we're going to talk about this one, and then we're going to go to here, next thing you know, everyone in the room is full of chaos, and you don't even know where you left off because you can't remember which one you were working on. And you can see here we've color-coded these as well. So you want to go through and identify, right, today we're going to talk about email. How do we email inquiry process? This is the process of the email inquiry. Instead of trying to find it over here, because you're now going, okay, which department, which service, you're simply going, right, go straight to here, click that button, and it takes us straight to that process, okay? Now we're talking. Now we're in a process. We have a title, we have a description, we have an overview, we have a standard operating procedure. Right down here, if I wanted someone in my team to add some value to this process, because I'm not, it's good, but it's not great, I can simply put the @ symbol and put in, let's call Pat. I can now add a note to say, can you add more to this? I can hit comment. Now Pat's going to get an email saying that Rob's made a comment on this link, which is this process. And Pat doesn't have to go into SystemHUB and try to find where I made this comment. He clicks the link that's in his email, and he goes straight to here. He reads the comment. He goes into here, clicks that little pencil button right there, and he adds the content, or he adds a video. You can see here, I'll now work my way down. We can see that little link where it says videos. Right there, you simply copy and paste the link from Google Drive, from Dropbox, from Loom library, from YouTube. If it's a YouTube video, you just simply get the URL and you paste it straight into here, and it will be embedded inside of here. The template, this is for email templates. So if you have autoresponders, or if every time you get an email, this is the email that you reply with, if it's a sales inquiry, whatever that looks like, you simply put your templates here. So if I created a template right here, right, and now I have it sitting here, I hit the edit button, again, that little pencil, I put the subject, I put the context of the email there, and I save it. So this would be where the subject would go, and this would be what the email would look like. So dear whoever, and then you can then have the email in like that, and you save it, and now it becomes an email template that's associated to this service under this process, that now when someone goes to this process and says, well, I'm working through this process now, oh, there's the email template that I need to use to reply to that. So it's super helpful when you have emails that you're already using for autoresponders and different things. That's where you can find them. Again, we want to have a single source of truth. It doesn't necessarily mean this is where you go to get everything, but this is where you go to associate something to that particular process, whether it's a video, an email template. Here you can upload a file. That file can be an image, a PDF, whatever that looks like for you. But more importantly, you can use this toolbar up here. And again, it doesn't need to be outlandishly fancy, all right? But you can click an insert button right here. And let's just say I grab, and I want to put some image right here. I can simply go through here, click that little button there, and I can grab any image I want to and put it straight in, straight from your hard drive. And the image will be, again, right inside of your process. So you want to be able to have typical screenshots. You want to have videos. You want to have images. You want to upload supporting files. So I've got one client, an electrician, they have a lot of drawings that they use. So instead of having all the drawings sitting here in big screenshots, they simply have a reference point where they can click here. They can review that drawing because it comes up as a preview on the screen. And they go, okay, I get it now. So this is the way you guys do this process using these types of drawings. Here's an example of a drawing that a plan, some sort of schematic plan that we had for a client as an example. Okay, so the goal here is to capture as much as you can while you're at it. And I'm just going to save that now. And remember, we talked earlier about how you can save a process as a public website, and you can simply then email that to someone and say, click here to view the process of how we do things. So I'll show you how that works. So I'm in a saved process. I'm simply going to click the three little buttons here and click that share button. You can see it's created the link. So I can copy that and create an email and say, here's the link to that process of how we use email inquiries. You can open it by simply clicking it here. It's going to look like that. Now, I'm logged in my Chrome in SystemHUB, so the import and return to systems won't appear if you're sending this out to someone external. It's purely just here because I'm on the same browser. So you can click through here. Any links that are sitting in here will also work. The templates are also visible here. Now, if I come back to this screen here, and you're thinking, well, nowadays everyone's using QR codes. What's the simplest way to send this across? You can say, here's the link to something, or you can simply just go create a QR code. It creates that. You download that QR code, and you text it to someone, or you email it to someone. They simply get their phone, iPad, Android, iPhone, whatever. They scan the code. Process comes up straight away on their device. It's extremely useful for guys out on the tools, for companies that are out on different areas on job sites. Particularly, we've got one client that actually has downloaded the QR codes for certain processes, laminated those, and stuck that laminated sheet in front of a tool or a truck or a car. They had to scan, read through the process before they're able to use that vehicle or touch those tools. So again, it starts to think about safety. You know, HNS, when you want to make it as simple as you can, particularly for those who just don't have a laptop working with them, they can't jump on your SystemHUB. They're out on site. but they can look at it from their iPhone or any device, and it comes up super clear. Okay, so is there any questions at all around the systems and how to then go from that critical client flow into all the way to that systems assigned sheet? When we bring it here, capture the information, then get it back into here to create an actual process. Does anyone have any questions at all before I move away from systems? No? Okay. So again, you'll see if we looked at each department, and let's just say we're talking about that SYSTEMology concierge service, you'll see, and not to create any overwhelm, I've been working on this for nearly 3 years. I've identified every single service that we do in each department. So if you can think about, if you even go to your own website and it says services, or here's what we do, or here's our offering, and there's a little drop down on most people's websites, if you've got a list of 5 or 6 things that you're publicly announcing to the world of the things that you do, there's 5 or 6 CCFs you can create straight away, because you want to be able to capture how do we do each one of those services. Now, again, we fall back into the 80-20 rule. 80% of the things we're doing for every service that we do is exactly the same. How do we find them? How do we do a quote? How do we then do a job? All right, the job part of it, the operational side of it, is probably that 20% that's slightly different. Going to a different location, you're using different tools. It's a different process. But then when it comes back into invoicing and following up, that's exactly the same for everything. So think about the 80-20 rule, because the hardest part is capturing the first service that you're doing. The first group of processes you capture takes the longest. But when you get to the next one, you're going, hang on a second, 80% of the things we're doing for that job is exactly the same for this job number 2. So you then go through and you identify each one of these first. You can see we've got the different services in marketing. Then if I go out of marketing and I go to sales, we have the same list of the same services. And all these are doing is they're associating back. So if we expand marketing, there's everything relating to marketing for that concierge service. This is everything relating to sales for concierge service. This is everything relating to, if we come on down, just minimize that now. We go into operations. There's everything relating to operations around that service. So again, we're going to say, I need to find out how to do something. All right, well, it's an operational. I'm going to go to the operations department. It's that service. I'm going to go to that service. Now I'm going to look at the extraction process as an example. Here we go. Now I get it. Okay, this is the process of how we do it. There's the video of me talking through that process, and then any other supporting information you want to add to it. Okay, so it's just a matter of capturing what your services are first, identifying which departments they go into, who knows most about each one of those processes, how are we going to get them and lock them down and sit them in front of a recording, Zoom, Loom, Google Meet, whatever that looks like, or if they're just going to write it down so that we can start recording those processes. So eventually you'll have everything done. So now you're just going to start talking about other things that you're doing, which leads us into the policies. Okay. So I'm just going to Steve Dale. Okay, no worries, Steve. With the policies, you can see here, policies are now internal. These are the things that are within your business that are capturing that, not necessarily relating to a CCF and a DRTC and all of that. You're basically now looking at things that, okay, who are we? So company overview. All right, so again, a little brief. A lot of the stuff you can find directly from your website because you've already paid a web designer to do all this hard work for you. The organizational structure, so who's who, this is where your org chart's gonna go, so that's cool. You can have pictures started off your website like that if you wanted to. It's up to you how you want to manage, but say you're onboarding someone new, you want them to understand who the team is, what roles they have, what role they have, and who they're reporting to. So it's not necessarily a hierarchy, it's more just identifying what your company structure looks like. Because this policy will eventually be also turned into a learning track. So anyone you're onboarding says the first thing they see is the org chart. Cool, I know who's who and who's doing what. Easy, because you only have to do this once. This can be simply revised. That's just a Google drawing. It's a template called an org chart inside Google Drawings. All right, you have the link sitting here. So when you click it, it takes you to the editable version. You edit it, remove some of the people or the roles you're not using anymore, add the new people and add the new roles that you're now using. You paste it back into here again. So this becomes the single source of truth where everything resides. So when you say, let's have a look at our org chart this Friday's meeting, you're not going to be going, I'm just going to go to Google Drive and try to find that. You're going to say, well, I'm simply going to go into our policies under our organizational structure and click the who's who button. Pretty straightforward. The team members, this is when you're breaking down the roles. Okay, and again, you want to be specific, but you have a template there for you. You don't need to rewrite it. If you've got bullet points on every role within your business, utilize those template or those bullet points, but turn it into a template that's already sitting here. Just fill in the blanks. What's the job title? What's the purpose? What are the key responsibilities? What are the job tasks? What are the trade qualifications? What work experience and skills do they need? Personal qualities and like that's going to be the same for every single role of any person that's joining your team. Wouldn't it be great if this was already done for you? So all you're doing is you're tweaking it, adding what you need to, and every role you work with, whether it be a financial controller, HR manager, the sales manager, whoever it is, these templates are designed to help you fill in the blanks. So you're not having to feel like you're writing everything from scratch. And if you've already done this in other avenues and other different parts of your business where we started working on this about 5 years ago, I don't know where it is. Well, you find it and you bring it in here and you merge it together so it makes sense. So you've got the May 24, 2023 version of this document. And when you revise it, you know where to go to revise it. You're not going back and looking at different versions of different documents. You simply come here and you basically update it. Now, let's just say that you have a job title for someone new that's joining you, and you would, it's old school, but you still want to do it. Instead of emailing it to them, you want to print it. You hit the print button. You go straight to your printer and you hit print. So there's no reasons why you can't create a process, have a single source, print it, save it as a PDF, store it wherever you need to store it. Keep it simple, okay? So now we're going to come back into here. We're now looking at the different policies within your business. So we have company policies, right? We have guidelines. We then go into privacy and confidentiality, website privacy policy, and website terms and conditions. So yes, I could go to our website and find all this information, or I can simply come here and click here, and there's our privacy policy. And if I want to edit that, I can edit it here, and then I can update our website. If there's new privacy policy or terms and conditions that are created, I know where to go to edit it, and then I can update our website that way. So workplace policies, same thing. Timesheets, HR, long service leave. These are templates designed to help you and guide you along so that what you're basically doing is you're coming in and you're filling in and tweaking. So if you pay everyone if this says weekly and you're paying everyone fortnightly, you change it to fortnightly and you save it. You update it based on the policies that you have. Okay, so it's designed to give you a prompt. So that's like, I never realized that we needed a company policy set up before workplace policies until I've seen this. All right, let's just go through this and cover it all. Because again, you might have this somewhere stored, but it's just somewhere lost. You don't know where it is. You want to bring it into here so you've got a single source. So when you need to edit it, you can. And then you've got your employee policies. Okay, so you're talking about absences, leave types, discipline. All right, suspension and warnings. Let's just get this done and dusted out of the way. So if you ever have to go to this process to review it with a team member, it's already documented. You already know what to do with it, and you just bring it up and you go through it. You don't need to go and have this worry about, oh, I know we have this written down about how we're supposed to handle this difficult situation. Well, you have something here that you just go to and it's ready to go. So that's designed for the policies right there. Is more the internal things that are going on within your business. Now, the things, we come over to training. So any questions on policies at all before I move on? Cool. Okay. Now, training. The training is designed to capture the beautiful policies that you've already created and turn them into learning tracks. Now, this is not a works induction. It's not an onboarding where there's a quiz at the end and all that kind of thing. They have their own platforms for that. This is saying, right, if we are talking about SYSTEMology concierge service, and I go into that, now we're talking about marketing, sales, operations, and finance. Cool, because we're just talking about the 4 departments that are associated with that service. Now we have a new marketing person working for us. So we go to marketing, and I can simply say, these are the 4 points that we brought up in marketing. So they match what's going on over here. So again, if I'm coming back to our systems and we look at marketing and all of these here, I've captured the ones that I feel would be the most appropriate to have as a learning track. So this is designed to, and if I go into edit mode here, you can see if we go to members, which is over here on the right, you can see how my name is ticked. It's got the little red, a little X there. So everyone that's within your SystemHUB, in your group that you invited in, and you want them to go through a learning track, you simply go to the learning track and add them as a member. Put the little X next to them. So if I wanted to add Chris, I simply add that. So when Chris signs into SystemHUB, she'll see that there's a learning track for her that's been waiting to be done. how she does it. She goes into here, goes into learning track to the one she's been assigned to. And you can see here, of these, if I go into, and I'll just save this, you can see here how it's got this green line. I'm 75% done for this particular course. So I've done social media. So if I click it, it takes me to that process. I'm now reading through it. Yep, I get it. I've watched the video. Okay, cool. Got it. Email templates. Yep, cool. I come over here and I click this agree button. So you can see here, this agree button has already got a green tick next to it because I've already completed it here. Now, if I jump down to one that I haven't completed, so referrals from SYSTEMology head office, I click that. I can see this. I'm reading through it. Yep, I get it. I watch the videos, me talking my way through it. I come over here to the agree button, and now I'm agreeing to the terms in the document. So I say, yes, I agree. I've read through it. I come back to my training, and if I refresh that, you're going to see that that's now complete. And I've now completed 100% of the marketing part of the SYSTEMology Concierge. Now I'm ready to do that role. Now, as the admin for your SystemHUB, you can log in and view how every one of your team members is going on their learning tracks. You can see the percentage of how they've completed each one. So if I went into sales, you can see I've created all of these learning tracks. None of these are complete. I simply go into it. I've read through it. I understand it. I agree. Tick that off. It now has a green tick under my account. Go back into the learning track, and you'll see now we're working our way through it because that part's complete. So you want to be able to think about every process that you're recording as if you're teaching it to someone that's being onboarded. So you want to not make any assumptions to say, well, this is how we do it, but everyone knows it because you're in our industry, you will work for us, and you understand it. You're a tradesperson. Now treat it as if it's a 15-year-old kid who's never even seen your business before and doesn't even know what you do. That's the language. You want to be slow, precise, concise, and succinct, and speak as if you're speaking to a kid that doesn't know anything about what you're doing. Don't make any assumptions, because when you're done, you're going to look back at this and go, man, that is so simple, but I've actually forgotten how to do that process. I even forgot doing it. I forgot recording this. I'm actually going to read through this again to make sure that I'm staying on track. And again, each process can be as simple as an overview, introduction, and then a little bit of, I think of it like a sandwich. All right, so the introduction is like, why did we create this standard operating procedure in the first place? Here's the procedure and how we do it. And in conclusion, this is why. Okay, so you've built the intro, you've built the meat in the sandwich, and you've got your conclusion side sitting there right now. That's the mindset of a standard operating procedure. Okay, so it doesn't have to be overly complicated. And if it needs to be just 2 sentences long, that's okay too. We don't want to have processes that are 500 bullet points. And if the video goes for an hour, I can tell you right now, when you're onboarding that 15-year-old kid who's never even heard of your business before, but they're about to start a job tomorrow, they're going to fall asleep within 5 minutes. So we want to keep these videos 1 to 2 minutes long. And when we come into, and that all starts back here, that all starts, yes, we can be super high level talking about a critical client flow. By the time we get it here, there is no reason why, when you see that in between these two processes, you just realize, because now you're talking your way through it, that we need to insert something here that's now a valuable part in marketing that we didn't think about before when we did our CCF. Because now what you're going to do is you're going to create it and give it a SystemHUB name, give it a description. It's now the person that knows most about it, what resources, Loom, Zoom, whatever that looks like, when did you do the extraction, and what's the link back to SystemHUB. So you do the same thing for every single process, because this is just the way you do it now. We identify something new. There's a new process. We've changed software platforms. We don't use Xero anymore. We've gone to QuickBooks. Okay, now we need to update our accounting side in the finance department based around doing Loom videos on QuickBooks now because we've moved away from Xero, for example. You come back and you create it. You go back to your systems assigned sheet and you methodically identify those differences that are there, and you go through the process of recording it and you put it in here the same way. So then down the track, when it gets super complicated and you're really thinking about the what ifs that are involved in all of these, you come back to your systems assigned sheet. Okay. Now, the question I often get is, what about operations when there is no clients? Typically, it's not a CCF, it's not a systems assigned sheet. It's just a process we're doing in our operations. You simply create a systems assigned sheet, have the department all operations. All right. Now I've got a client we're working with, and they've got every process they do is a pre-job, during job, and post-job. That's how they look at every job they do. So if they're doing concrete pouring, what do they do to prep for the concrete pouring? So to capture the processes, all inside of a systems design sheet. All of this was operations, everything here. But we did pre, identified what those processes were. During, identified every process. Post, and identified every process. Guess what fell in? The 80-20 rule. 80% of everything they do before, during, and after a job is pretty much the same. It's just that during is a different product or a different service, but the preparation side and the tail off and the post part of it was exactly the same. So it became easier and easier and easier. So you don't need to create a CCF for everything. You come in and say, right now we're worked our way into operations, and we're going to methodically work through each one of those. Now, you have roles. People that work within your business that are internal, office managers, bookkeeper, things like that, that are more internal, not working with, but more internal, not working with your clients. You can simply say, make a list of all the roles that they do. Okay, cool. We've identified the top 5 things that they do. Now, of those 5 things, identify what are the steps in which you are doing these roles. The goal here is to advise them that we're doing this for our own business so we can scale, franchise, sell, exit, whatever that word is. Linda, I know you know exit strategy. That's why I'm saying that today, because you told me last time not to forget the exit strategy, which is true. Now, we have to advise that person that we're not doing this to fire you. We're not doing this to replace you. We're doing this because we're a business and we're capturing our process and systems so that we have the ability to grow and scale. Because if you do want to take a month off, you can. All right, that's the idea, is the buy-in for every one of your team members to say, well, we just go to SystemHUB to find out how to do things because it's super easy. And when the person says, this person's going to do my role today, I simply point them to the right place in SystemHUB instead of spending 4 hours with them teaching them how to do something, because they're going to be doing your role the next week or the next 2 weeks or whatever that looks like. So once you have that understanding that everyone's doing this to support the business as a whole, it's the business owner's responsibility to say that we need to get everything out of our minds and into a process, then it starts to accumulate and it starts to get a lot of fun. So that is basically the 3 major components of SystemHUB, but more importantly, why we're doing it this way. So yes, technically it's great to click here and you can do this, you can do that. I can go through more of the technical sides of things of how it works, but the most important thing is how do we now start to get into the systems mindset? So we're helping the business owner get it out of their heads into a process, make this a single source of truth so that everyone goes here to find it, but at the same time, keeping it simple, but also making it fun. Because systems are boring to most. I find them incredibly sexy because you get it done. It's like, oh man, how good does that feel that I've just removed myself from that equation? I've just gone, I don't need to explain it to anyone anymore. I just said it once, recorded it, and they could watch it 1,000 times. That's the goal. So that's it. That's SystemHUB in a nutshell. So if anyone has any questions at all, jump in. I'm happy to make this an open forum because that's what this is all about. Every month, I just want to talk about different tools that I'm working with, different tools that I've learned about, and just sharing that with you. Okay. So if anyone has anything, unmute. Just go for it and unmute if you want to. If not, that's totally cool too. I will put the recording in back into LinkedIn. I will send, if you haven't got a Systemology book, then let me know and I'm going to post it to you. And if you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out. I'll just show you if there's just got a resources page here. So our website, CloudKonnect.com. If you want to learn more about the Systemology, systemology.cloudkonnect.com. We have ClickUp, Pipedrive, and my email's there as well. So if there's any information you want to know more about, just reach out and let me know. All right. But thank you guys so much. And I will see you next month around the same time. Let me know. Give me ideas. If there's something you want to know more about or a platform that you're using that you'd love to know more about, let me know because I'll do some investigations and we'll dig in. We'll do a bit of an overview just so there's a better way of understanding how these platforms work. All right. So thank you all for coming. I will see you in the next video.